Do not adjust your screen. It is not Monday. It's Tuesday.
It does feel a bit like Groundhog's Day, but it is great to see Lori in the huddler seat again and getting to have a great conversation about teamwork today.
I love it. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah.
Always, man. It's always fun. So how was your Monday, Mr. Nudelberg?
Got off to a great start. Got off to an absolutely great start. Love setting the direction for the week. Love coming together as a team. More talking about teamwork. But those Monday morning meetings are just fantastic. It's collaborative. It's creative. It's alignment. It's accountability. It's good stuff.
First of all, I gotta shout out Nathan Connor is here.
Yeah.
And I know he was here yesterday. He just figured out how he could jump in and say hello. So I wanted to make sure that we recognize him. Great to see you, Nathan. Glad to have you aboard as a huddler. But, for me, it's so funny because like my career of building teams and doing all that stuff was over 9 years ago. It was kind of me and Shay just kind of doing our thing. I love being part of a team. Yeah. I love being able to add what I can to the team and know that it's not just on me. And I felt that way a lot in my career, and we'll get into that. So, Lori, how was your Monday?
It was great. I'm on PTO this week, but I can't think of a better way to get up on my day off and spend it with you guys. It actually forced me to get up because I've got something I really want to work on today. So it was perfect. So. And I love being part of a team. Are you kidding?
Yeah, it's awesome. Joy Linsky, great to have you on a Tuesday. Laura Brody, man, is here. I haven't seen her in the huddle in a long time. So great to see you. Welcome, everybody. We have a packed show, lots of content. So let's get right to it. Shay, wake us up.
Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more about the thinking, time of thinking ahead. Come on.
All right.
So I got a question for you, Lori, because you said, of course, you like being on a team and being a part of a team. When did you learn that you loved being a part of a team?
Nice question.
Oh, really early on, actually. When I went to work, I would say it was my job. I was on a team at the bank, but that didn't really hit me. It was when I went to Ogilvy & Mather in advertising in New York. And I was part of a 200 people team, ended up leading them a couple of years later. But I loved how everybody just rolled up their sleeves and did whatever needed to be done to get the job done. I love that feeling.
Were you a part of any teams growing up?
Yes, and my dad was a coach,
Right.
so I spent a lot of time on the fields. But team sports wasn't really. I was more tennis and things like that. So
You were an individual sport athlete.
yeah, more of that. I mean, I played softball and stuff like that, but I learned about being part of a team really from growing up around teams like with my dad. So
it's interesting because there's, Laura Sherwin says youth sports. Jonathan Aaron says youth sports. I think if you play team sports growing up and that if it's for you, if that sport is something that ignites you, I liked playing baseball. It was fun, but I didn't really wrap into the team concept until I played football. Like even basketball, I enjoyed playing basketball, but I didn't wrap into the team identity until I played football. And that was the thing that I think stuck me to the team mentality, which was early in my life.
So I want to share. So I got a couple of things I'm going to tee you guys up with, and then I want your response. So Nick Saban had a quote about team. Shay, please show me Nick Saban's quote. Everybody always says there's no I in team. Jake just said that, but there is an I in win, because the individuals make the team what it is, and how they think and what they do is important to the team. So I want both of you, coming from very different perspectives, to comment on the players on a team.
So I've always said that the I in win stood for the individual's responsibility, right? We all have an individual responsibility to show up and sacrifice for the team. And I think that's where, when you talk about teamwork, talk about cohesion, at some point you have to talk about there has to be a sacrifice by an individual for the betterment of the group outside of themselves. Because the only way that 1 + 1 = 11 and not 2 is if you have the cohesion and the sacrifice. If you've got all individuals, then the sum of the group is only as good as the sum of the individuals. But if you have a team, the sum of the team is exponentially greater, because they understand how to work together, which is far better than individuals working in silos.
Lori, your thoughts on this? And I want everybody to know that you have exhausted yourself. Your effort at building the team at JA is very visible to everybody, and a super job. So I'm very interested in your response.
Thank you. And I think one of the things that is critical to that right, and the team, is accountability. And without it, the team, right, typically doesn't always work, because there's going to be somebody inevitably on the team that is not pulling their weight, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you handle that? So I think there's a couple of things that I think really, really drive that individual behavior. Well, I'll say 3 things. 1, a great leader. Okay. You've got to have a great leader who's motivating the team, inspiring the team. Number 2, you've got to be really clear on the goals. Okay. Because if everybody isn't clear on the goals and there is a consistency across the board, right, you're going to have people kind of floundering. And then the 3rd is accountability. What the processes that are in place to hold everyone accountable, to make sure that everyone's clear for their piece of the puzzle. So for me,
I agree. I agree totally. Both of you, great perspectives. There's always challenges in doing that. I'm going to show you a video that will expose the challenge that I see. Shay, show me it's not my job.
I love it. For those of you who could not see the video, that was a bear walking down the street with a cone that was knocked over, and the bear stops, picks up the cone and puts it upright, and then continues on its way.
So let's dive into the big thing. Managing egos is probably the most difficult thing a leader has to do. First of all, if a leader doesn't have an ego, I think that's a problem. It should take on some of the leader's personality. But both of you have managed high performers that are very difficult people. And so that's kind of where, in teamwork, how do you get the most out of people, but get them to play nice in the sandbox?
I think there's 2 components to that. I think there's got to be an identity to the team, and there's got to be a common goal that's understood by the entire body and the entire unit. For me, right, like every organization has a vision, has an objective, has a mission, whatever that thing is. But the larger an organization gets, the more units it has. And I think it's super important that you have an identity for every unit, because the idea that every unit is going to buy into the identity of the overall organization is super hard. That identity of the group can fit into the overall vision, which is what I was really maniacal about when building special teams was we weren't offense, we weren't defense. Offense was, they had their identities, defenses had their identities. What was the identity of the special teams going to be that all of the players could buy into? That everybody could say, okay, for this unit, I've got to operate inside of this identity. And if that doesn't fit me, then I had to be the one to say, hey, look, you're either going to buy into who we are and the way we do things, or you're not. And if you're not, then you can't, I don't care how talented you are. You can't play on this unit. Or I don't care how untalented you are. You can play on it if you're willing to buy in to who we are and what we do.
Lori, looks like you're busting.
To Steve's point, everybody has some ego, right? We'd be lying if we said we didn't have some, right? Too much is narcissistic, but we need to have a little bit. There are going to be people on your team that don't see the value and the worth that they bring. And there are going to be people on your team who think they bring more value than they really do and have more potential than you might think they have. And so I think there's two things, or a couple, maybe three. So one is, I think we don't evaluate, I guess I'll use the word evaluate, or talk with people about their performance often enough. I don't think once a year is fair. Okay, ridiculous. I wouldn't want somebody to tell me.
It's ridiculous.
You might have a formal evaluation once a year, but I have one-on-ones with my people every month. So if there's something going on, right, they're going to know about it during that one-to-one. So I think constant, right, or consistent feedback is number one. Number two, authenticity, right? I know we have to say things differently today than we might have said them, right? Get your head out of your ass might not work today, right? And so we've got to say things a little bit more diplomatically and empathetically, but we've got to be authentic and give honest feedback to people. And then you didn't pay me to say this, but coaching, right? I think regardless, if you're either coaching someone up or you're coaching them down, right? Mm-hmm. So, but those three things to me are critical, regardless of where somebody is on the team.
So and I want to speak to managing the ego piece of it, because ego can be taken a lot of different ways.
Thank you.
Ego that distracts from the team, ego that makes it about an individual is bad and cannot be tolerated. I don't care. I don't care what group it's in. I don't care if it's the leader. That to me, but confidence, which gets confused with ego, is something that's essential, right? If people do not feel confident in their role, if the leader doesn't feel confident in the ability to step in front of the team and lead and direct, it's going to be very, very hard to overcome adversity and overcome challenges. So as a leader, you have to recognize who are your confident bunch, who are not your confident bunch, and know, how do I breathe confidence into the people that need it? And then how do I give autonomy, and how do I give individualism, or how do I give some freedom to the people that have that confidence, so everybody feels like they're operating within their own style, which helps develop the cohesion that you need.
You know, so people do take a negative connotation to Laura Sherwin's point about ego, because if you experience somebody who's all about themselves, right, which is really shitty leadership, that's a really difficult place to work. I'm about to start coaching somebody, an unbelievable track record of success, but her new leader is really in the way of her success. And, you know, that creates a roadblock. Here's another video on teamwork that I think, and this is the power of social media. I don't know this person. Somehow it landed in my feed. Kate Downin posted this. Individually, we are one drop. Together, we are an ocean. And watch this. No, you don't have to show that, Shay. You show me the video, please.
absolutely elite video.
I mean, so, there's so many thoughts that jump into my mind but one of them is never leave your brother or sister behind.
Sure.
When you can reach back, which is the part of teamwork, if you can get people in your organization to reach down and pull that next person up to the level, you have astounding growth.
There has to be a team goal, though, right? Like, the reason that works in that video,
they knew the goal was to get over the wall.
Everybody's got everybody. You can't only have 5 of the people get over the wall. The whole team has to get over the wall. So this is the big rub in business development and sales when I work with organizations is if you don't have a team selling goal, if you don't have a store goal, if you don't have a department goal, if you don't have a unit goal, if you don't have something that everybody individually is bought into, it's going to be very, very hard to have everybody go, yeah, I want to help somebody else drive more revenue and be successful and take time out of what I have to do to be successful to help somebody else if there's no incentive for me to do that for everybody else.
I think it's really one of the things I want to say too is that, listen, it isn't just the leader who figures out that somebody is really not truly a team player. Everybody on the team knows when somebody is not truly a team player. And it doesn't mean that, they needed help lifting a box, so you help them lift the box. It's that point of bringing them up. It's that point of not taking credit and giving somebody else credit, right? And I actually had this conversation with somebody recently and said, you took credit for that, never gave anybody else on the team credit for anything. And meanwhile, you would not have had that success in your program had all those people not done everything they did.
Right.
I can tell you that everybody on that team felt it.
Right.
So it's interesting because I wrote this piece a while ago about the things that we learned when we were in kindergarten that we forgot and would apply now. One of them is sharing, learning to play in the sandbox. You learn, Jules is going to school and he's learning how to play with other people. I think, and this is true of most sales staffs, the one who's doing the most business is the biggest asshole. They have nothing to do with that. A lot of times.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But you're not a salesperson.
Well, I am. I'm the biggest salesperson of the organization.
The reality here is that, if you ask people who's the biggest asshole in the office, it's usually the person that thinks they're above everything else because they write more business. And one of my recommendations is fire the disease and watch how everybody comes together. So
the other part I think that's really important to building cohesion, and you talked about playing in the sandbox together. Jules can't speak. He's got no words, right? But in a room full of babies, they figure out a language. They figure out how to communicate with each other. So when I talk to an organization about creating cohesion, what language do you guys speak? And I don't mean English, Spanish, French. I mean, what are the words? What's the body language? How do you guys communicate with each other, both audibly and then, through signs and through body language that creates the ability to work together? If you don't have a shared language, if not everybody is speaking and working in the same way, there's no way in order to be able to play together. There's no way to have that cohesion.
So I agree. And that is a leader's responsibility. So I have one more video that will talk about this topic, but in a very different light. Shay, show me the cheer squad.
Are we going to do that after each basket?
All right, so for those who couldn't see the video, basketball net gets stuck up on top of the rim. The basketball players are throwing the ball at it, trying to get it down. They give up. They can't solve it. The cheerleaders walk over. They boost one of the cheerleaders up so that she could reach the top of the rim. She pulls the net off the top, and the problem is solved. My takeaway from that is everybody looks at a problem differently, and everybody has a different skill set to solve a problem. So the more people you have involved working together to solve a problem, the better your solution is.
You know what my takeaway is?
Something
Girls
about
rule.
women domination.
Girls rule.
Well, you were on the show. That's why I played it. But the reality is, Mark, I think you hit it on the head for me, is that when we were growing on the ball, the creative side, we had interns all the time. We didn't treat interns like interns. We treated them as people who had an idea. And we told them no idea was bad because they could come up with a kernel of an idea that seeded us or took us down a path that got us to a place. So everybody on the team, and this is what's unbelievable. You go to Eddie Dykes's, store, they're all there, but the big tall dude, that's the security guard, he knows more about the business than any of the salespeople there. You know why? Because he's there every day watching. He hears, he sees the interaction. So when you really think of teamwork, everybody has a voice if you allow them.
And so the other thing that I think gets missed when we talk about teamwork is that you could have a team that works really well together that doesn't accomplish shit. Like it's as average as could be. Right. And so just because you have cohesion, just because you have language, just because you have people working together, if you don't have drive inside of that team, if you don't have people or leaders that are challenging the status quo, that are milestone driven and looking to continue to grow, and in our language, get 1% better every day, you will have a very complacent, very average team that works well together and never accomplishes anything.
Right. But you know what? To that point, Mark, that's part of how I think that's probably one of the, as I've built the team here at JA, I think that's one of the biggest challenges is recruiting and hiring the right people.
Right.
Right.
100%.
Sometimes you think you have the right person because they present well, but it's looking for that drive, those little things in the interview. And I'm the last interview person. Right. I'm not looking for technology. I'm not looking for technical skills. I am looking to feel that passion of them jumping out of that seat and telling me how they're going to kill it and knock it out of the park. Right.
I love that.
That's the part that's the most challenging, I think.
Amen
I
to that
absolutely agree. Sherry Solomon, Cedar, awesome huddle this AM. Thank you. I thought it would be a great topic. Lori, thank you for taking an extra day with us, because I think your perspective on this topic was genuine and on target. And thank you all for, I know Romy, made a nice comment. Your interaction fuels this. If there's a topic you want us to talk about, let us know, because, this is all organic.
A couple shout outs before we go. Shout out to Joy Linsky and to Greg Goldstein. Great post yesterday. They're working together, and that's a connection that came through the huddle. And I continue to see more and more people post about how they're starting their morning. They're starting it with the huddle. They're sharing it with their community. We do not have a cost to the show, but we do have a fee. And the fee is that you comment, like, and share and invite other people to it to help us grow the community. So thank you guys.
What other place can you go and have 50 other professionals reach out to each other, bring friends, just invite somebody. Just say, hey, we don't have to go anywhere. Tomorrow at 7:58, join me on the huddle. You'll be happy you did. So awesome stuff, Lori. A big shout out to you. For
nice teamwork, guys.
I was going to say,
nice teamwork.
You stole my thunder.
We make a great team, don't we?
So here's a lesson. You, on your day off, your paid time off, chose to do something more, something, the extra. That's how teams really grow, is when you see people do more when they don't have to. Kudos to you. Thank you. What a fun show. We never even did motivational music, but we'll be back tomorrow with Jake Nudelberg. Get jaked, baby. Let's go.
Have a great day.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down